Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October 1st, 2022. Hopefully, you paid your landlord. I gotta do that. um, Hopefully, you've had a good one. I don't know if you can tell by my voice, if you've been keeping up. I'm doing a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better. I think, yeah, we came around after I want to say around Wednesday. I feel like that was when we really peaked over, which makes sense. About a week after I got my medicine, all kind of lined up. So I was very happy about that. Huzzah! Let's see further into the personal news corner, if you will, Isaiah Corner. Not too much on the food, sadly. I'm sorry to disappoint. I did make some at-home chicken tikka masala, which was good. Didn't disappoint. Let's see. The weird thing about it, though, I don't have any naan at home. I'm sorry. I'm perping, and I just have a bunch of tortillas, so I just used a few of those. I'm sorry. You can cancel me. Let's see. What else is there? Um, Not much. Not much. I mean, it was a good week. I'm happy, so that's nice. We're in good spirits. I feel good. I don't know if you feel that way where you've come out of some sickness stuff. You know, it's just like, oh, actually, no, I do have I do have a bit of a personal thing. I went out drinking with a friend, and maybe this is 30 shit, but or maybe I'm just a lightweight. I don't know. But I went out with a friend on a Wednesday because, like I said, I was breaking through that day. And I'm like, man, I haven't gone out. I really haven't, hung out with people. I've, barely worked even. Man, I'm kind of cooped up. And my friend was like, I'm having a crazy day. Let's go out. Let's get some drinks. I'll get some food, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, Wednesday? I mean, I've done this on a Thursday. So, yeah, why not? We can do this. We can do this. So I wind up doing a margarita night kind of situation. And I want to say after three margarita drinks, I was done. And I was like, that's okay. That's fine. That wasn't the bad part. I'm getting to that. I get home and then I'm just not well. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm just gonna go to sleep and it's fine. I wake up and I proceed to puke 11 times. 11 times. So I had to call off work again. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was better and I am better, but now I'm puking. Bile for what? But I think my issue is just I'm doing bad, food math, definitely bad water math. I do not drink enough water. And I think I'm just more acute to those things as I get older. And I can't just tank things. So, it is what it is. I think I just gotta pace myself better, life wise, because I drink a little bit, here and there, but well, what am I saying? I drink a little bit here and there. I drink every day. I drink, but it's not much, guys. I'm not an alcoholic. I swear. I swear. I do a beer and a shot every day, and that's about it. Usually, take the edge off of a long day at work. That's what I'm doing. I'm no different from your wine mom. But yeah, I think I just gotta pace myself a little better. I think I need to eat normal food instead of just three pretzels and say, yeah, I'm gonna be fine today to drink alcohol on a random Wednesday. So maybe a lesson learned. We'll see. I hope. But on that note, we can get into some news. I hate to say it, guys, but this is gonna be pretty much an all-out Ukraine-Russia episode. I don't get too stoked about getting so bogged down in this. This has been the whole year since February. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Mea culpa. But this is the news. And I mean, yes, I know there's going to be other things, and I'm going to try to get as much coverage on some other stuff in the episodes to come. But you know how it is. At least once a week, I got to give you your Ukraine, Russia dosage. And, ooh, excuse me. This is a big one, baby. So open up that butt. I don't actually. You wouldn't have to open up your butt for any shot, but what? Okay. Let's get into some news. So let's see. Yahoo News, also from the BBC News. Edward Snowden granted Russian citizenship. Now, I thought this was going to be like tip of the spear, big news, but things really went out this week. Things really popped off. And I also implore you too to like, if you're, a newsy, if you're dedicated, if you're about it. Actually, we're going to be doing some shout outs, because it's the first of the month. But yeah, I thought this was going to be the big news, but things went off. But the news here was essentially Edward Snowden is officially now a Russian citizen. If you're not hip to Edward Snowden, he was a person who, blew the whistle, some say leaked. If you're talking to like, Russian, or if you're talking to U.S. government, he's done some really crazy shit, espionage level betrayal shit. But essentially, he leaked extensive U.S. intelligence surveillance operations. But yeah, he has been granted Russian citizenship. It was granted, or the decree was signed by Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday. Let's see. He hasn't made any public comments, though. I was kind of surprised. I was kind of waiting for that. But like I said, other things popped off and I quickly forgot. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't want to dwell too much on this. I know some people have been talking like, well, isn't that funny that he gets citizenship and now he could be like, enlisted into the Russian army now? Because, that is a thing because he is a Russian citizen. Also, something I kind of wanted to get into, I guess we can kind of talk about now, but a bit of an update on that was, the enlistment procedure with like 300,000 Army reservists, that's been happening, as well as the whole referendum thing, on the 4 regions, to kind of solidify that. Those have been kind of happening and popping off. We'll definitely try to cover that a little bit more as we go on this episode. But Putin has come out and actually apologized for problems and errors that have kind of been happening. And I should put up like, quotations there because I don't think any of this was accidental. I think this was rushed out. I think it was vague on purpose because you just wanted to push this. And yet again, this is a really great example of the fact that we live in an age that is painfully online. It's not just me. And but what I mean by that is like technology is at our disposal and these things can spread around so quickly, so fast. You don't get the situations that you had in even your 80s, 90s, where like, oh, they can potentially get away with some of this sly shit. So, I was surprised that, Putin came out and made an apology publicly. But I mean, you had situations where literally you're seeing old men, like in their 50s, people you didn't think like these people weren't supposed to be, enlisted. Why are they here? Why are they in training now? But they had old men. They were just enlisting a bunch of people. They were literally grabbing people in protests and saying, yeah, here's your papers, buddy. Here you go. Like, there was a story from the New York Times, and they interviewed someone who more or less is hiding out because he's fleeing. Like, he knows that his papers were already coming. His job, like, already issued them to him. But essentially, I think, like, this job is, like, cool. And he's, like, hiding out at his job. And I think he then made a push to, like, leave with a friend. So, I mean, shit is crazy. It's wild. Some other stuff that popped off, though, we can move on to the next bump. From the Associated Press, 17 dead, 24 wounded in school shooting in Russia. So this is something that is unrelated, but it took place at school number 88 in Ishevix, a city 960 kilometers or 600 miles. Thank you, because we are in America. East of Moscow in the Udmurtia region. So, the gunman was a 34-year-old Artyom Kanstev. He was a graduate of the same school, and he was wearing a black t-shirt bearing Nazi symbols. There was no details about his motive that's been released. I do think, though, that he sent a warning to the school saying, like, I'm coming to do this. And I think more or less it was just said to the point of like he just was doing it out of hate. And so it doesn't seem like it was related to the war or anything like that. But he killed, 17 people, including 11 children. Also, 24 people were wounded, including 22 children. And then he put the gun on himself. And then also, it is said that, he was, I think like a part of like a psychiatric situation. So he was, in treatment for that. But essentially, I think he had found a way to get a non-lethal handgun, and then he adapted it to fire real bullets. So at least that's from what the Russian National Guard has said. Let's see. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov described the shooting as a terroristic act and said Russian President Vladimir Putin has given all necessary orders to the relevant authorities. President Putin deeply mourns deaths of people and children in the school where a terrorist act took place, Peskov told reporters on Monday. And there's some more, facts and details in the article. But that was just really sad. It was definitely unrelated. But once again, just went to go to show, like, the chaotic energy right now that is in Russia, that is in, Ukraine is just really going. And I was like, whoa, okay, definitely wanted to cover that for sure. Didn't want to miss that. Granted, I mean, that's everywhere. Obviously, we have plenty of shootings in America. I have just really been trying to take a break. And, luckily there hasn't been, like, too many of relevance, at least making big headlines, at least that I've seen. But, yeah, we definitely have them. We will have them more, sadly. But, actually, another shooting that happened, granted, I think the recruiter that was shot was just wounded. But this is, yet again, in Russia. I got this from PBS. A Russian military recruiter shot at an enlistment office amid troop call-up. So let's see. Once again, this is related to the whole enlistment situation. They have the name of the person here. I can just read part of it. In the attack in the Siberian city of Ust-Ilmsk, 25-year-old local resident Ruslan Zinin walked into the enlistment office saying, "No one will go to fight, and we will all go home now," according to local media reports. He then fired at an enlistment officer, and, he wounded him, but then I think, obviously he was, apprehended. And I believe from what I heard from, other sources, like, BBC, that's a good reference for me, that podcast. I'd be listening to it daily on the time. But essentially, his friend had been enlisted, and, that really upset him. It really charged him up, and, he went and did what he did. Now, like I said, the commandant, I think is going to be okay, but it just kind of goes to show that the temperature is very high right now. People do not want to go. This is where the rubber really meets the road. It's been really interesting to hear all sides of this from Russia, yet again, because of the power of technology. Internet is really moving. It's a whole ass highway. But you hear the traditional old style take, and you've heard it here in America, but it's definitely of old, I feel. But where it's like, I'm honored that my son is going to go and fight. And honestly, it's better that they go and fight and maybe get wounded than sit at home and be lazy. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? But you have to understand that the people who are saying this, they are heavily leaning on the information that they get in Russia. They are heavily leaning on state media. And in this situation, the only way I can really equivalate that would be you're only listening to Biden State of the Offices and Fox News all day, and I don't know what, CNN only, pick your poison, and that would be it. It's very biased, very slanted situation, and you're just leaning on that information. So that's those people who are saying that. But then there are other people who are like, this is crazy. This is insane. And when it started, they said, okay, that's fucked up. This military operation, whatever you want to call it, this is wild. But you could definitely tell, once again, referencing back to that NY Times thing, where for a lot of people, once this whole decree about, the enlistment happened, it really hit home. Because it's like, oh, this isn't going to be some quick, short thing. Like, I could actually have to fight in this. I might actually die in this. And that really hits home for a lot of people. That's not crazy. That's not evil. That's just how human beings are. I think, for me, and I'm, making it personal, I remember, obviously 9/11, yada, yada, crazy, next thing you know, we're doing our whole Middle Eastern tour, Afghanistan, Iraq, all that shit. I remember I started thinking to myself, like, hey, I did that FAFSA thing, and they have that whole thing where you have to check the box so you understand that you're now, like, you're definitely enlisted to, like, selective service or whatever. And I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if that happened? And I mulled that over, and I believe in the future, it's triggered, like, multiple weird nightmares for me. But you have to understand that I wasn't thinking about that shit heavy, and that just rolled past my brain. Now, imagine if that happens. Imagine if that worst case scenario unfolds. I'm probably not trying to do the shit. Like, I don't have that fucking patriotic fervor. I'm not down. I'm really not. Not for some bullshit that I don't believe in. And you're seeing that happen now. People are protesting. There's been, I actually got this from the article, scattered arson attacks on enlistment offices and protests in Russian cities against the call-up that has resulted in at least 2,000 arrests. And like I said earlier, not only are these arrests, there are people who are then rounded up in a protest and being like, here's your papers, now you're going to go anyway. Like, that's insane. That's insane, brother. So, yeah. I just want to get a coverage on those two shootings for sure. Definitely two different, one related, one unrelated to the war. But yeah, very wild shit. Let's see. Next one we got from Yahoo News / the AFP. Leaders blame Russia-Europe pipeline leaks on sabotage. Okay. Now I'm going to preface this on, there's obviously the article, but then I'm going to put on the whole conspiratory tinfoil hat here and let you know that there's going to be some speculation on this one for sure. Like, I mean, obviously you are tuning in a broadcast that it has my name on top of news. So, take that as you will. I'm just not trying to Alex Jones anybody here. I'm just keeping shit on the level because you do have freedom of speech, but you should make sure that people understand what the discourse is. You know what I mean? You should not be leading them to something that you are saying is a fact that is clearly just something you are making the fuck up and you have nothing to root it in. That's how you should do these kind of things. That's how you should work with the podcasting platforms that you have. But hey, that's just me. I'm just a poor boy. But yeah, essentially, this is over sabotage on the Nord Stream pipelines. And so I say sabotage with like quotations, but no, it definitely is sabotage. The situation is there were some explosions that were noted, and the next thing you know, you see leaks, and it looks like there were 3 of them, and this takes place on the Nord Stream pipelines 1 and 2. Now, in this article, it actually shows you, and it actually helped me out a lot, because I thought, I'm dumb, guys. If you haven't figured that out yet, if you've listened, you can tell I'm not very smart. I only have a high school degree. I have no business in this. I'm wading in waters too deep. But here I am swimming, baby. But Nord Stream 1 and 2, essentially, it's one big pipeline. And I believe, from what I'm looking at here, it is 2, though. Like, it's forked into 1. So there were 3 explosions, and which led to these gas leaks. And, essentially shutting it down. Now, granted, Nord Stream 1 and 2 have already been shut down. Nord Stream 2 never really got started, of course. And Nord Stream 1, they were saying, hey, we're having issues or whatever. It's kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, kind of sanction related. And so it hasn't really been operational for a bit now. Excuse me. So it's already been more or less decommissioned, but now it's decommissioned. But we don't know who the culprit is. Now, all sides a lot of sides are blaming Russia. Russia has come out and said, we definitely think it's sabotage, but it's not us. And, the U.S. is just saying, yeah, it's sabotage. Quiet. Zipper emoji. Like, that's it. What was it? I was listening to, gosh, I cannot remember, and I wish I had the reference here. But essentially, they were talking about Biden and how it was like, hey, Biden, like, you're saying, like, look, what's gonna, like, how are you gonna stop this situation with with the Russian gas thing, like them threatening it, like, well, we're just gonna shut it down. Well, how are you gonna do that? And he was kind of mum on that. Now, I'm not trying to sit there and say, like, the U.S. or the West, Western interests are who gain here. But I do think, when you do think about it, it's kind of weird to say, why would Russia blow up its own pipeline? Like, and for me, I was thinking to myself, like, well, maybe there's some way to, like, reverse siphon the gas. Like, maybe there's some cool, quirky, cool thing that I don't know about. But I haven't heard that. So there's no reason to think that there's anything to gain from blowing it up. Like, Russia doesn't get anything out of it. They're the ones who can control it. They have the lever and they say, okay, it's not working. So why would it get blown up? Who benefits? It's the whole, like, que bono shit. And I mean, what is it? I think Denmark and some other, gosh, I think it might be Sweden. I don't know. I'm kind of loose on this part, but they've been sent out to kind of, patrol. Yeah, Swedish, investigate, look into this shit. Also, I think it was kind of insinuated too. I think, what is it? Denmark or something was trying to open up their own pipeline because, they're, all of the Western European areas are, like, looking for alternatives. Like, look, we're trying to honor these sanctions. We're trying not to work with them. We got to do some scrambling. And it's been kind of alleged, like, well, maybe they did this to kind of send a message. And it's like, now that was a take that I heard from the BBC at the top of the week. And I'm like, I mean, okay. But, like, that doesn't, you don't stand, like, people know that Russia could do this. They know that Russia's capable of anything. They're literally the wild card here for the top of the year, starting this special military operation / fucking war. So they don't need to, like, flex. It's weird. So who knows? Who knows if we'll ever get an answer on this? I guess the take at Isaiah's newsstand is ? But it's certainly sabotage. I definitely don't think this was an accident. Lightning doesn't strike 3 times, especially in something like this. Also, to give you a quick, deeper explanation, the way the pipeline is set up is it is reinforced with steel, and then on top of said steel, it is reinforced in concrete. So it's not like these things just bust and something happens. Like, clearly the people who are looking at this, monitoring this, are like, no, it is an explosion. This happened. The question is just, who done it? So, gonna have to figure it out, maybe. But I don't really have the tools, so we'll just move on from there. Let's see. In the next article, we got from Yahoo News. I usually keep it there, but also, once again, this is Associated Press. Russia to annex more of Ukraine on Friday at the Kremlin. Essentially, this is just an update on the referendum stuff. Essentially, they've been moving forward with it. They got the quote-unquote green light. They got the votes in their favor, but we all kind of knew that was going to happen. And essentially, this is the same rollout, I believe, that happened in 2014. Now, maybe other people would debate that and say, oh, well, in Crimea, it was different, like, yada, yada, yada. But I don't know. I really do feel like this really does kind of go to show that this has been the operation. And because, Ukraine has been making the push that it's made and been regaining territory and gaining ground, that Russia said, look, we need to solidify these things. We need to make it official. And I mean, the scary thing is that now that these 4 areas are quote unquote Russian territory, at least according to Russia and Russia only, in places that, are aligned with them, where do we stand when these areas are getting pushed and attacked? Are you going to declare war? Are you going to open up more mobilizations? Are you going to back up those nuclear threats because you're saying this is Russian ground now? I don't know. We'll find out, right? Actually, we're going to get into that on our last bit about the, Russia and Ukraine, which we'll get into quickly soon. But yeah, essentially, the 4 regions, the Luhansk, the Donetsk, Kherson, in the Zaporizhia region. Obviously, the Zaporizhia region, honestly, is super scary to me. A lot of talk this week talking about the nuclear shit. If you're already talking about the tactical shit, we've already had issues at this plant. Like, are you really just willing to go full scorched earth potentially? And especially because you're claiming this area. It's so complicated. It's so awkward. But I mean, we're gonna be going through the layers of this onion in the future, I'm assuming, right? But yeah. Also, though, in this article is going to lead us into the next article. The area of Lyman, which is, I believe, a part of the... what is it? Which part of the 4? Let me run back at the top. Thank you for bearing with me, guys. I believe it's part of the Kherson region, if I'm not mistaken. At least it's semi-adjacent to it. But actually, we'll just read the top of it. Once again, we're at the PBS, kind of doing a loop. But yeah, got this from the PBS. Russia withdraws troops from Lyman after Ukraine encircles key eastern city. So this is kind of calling it right here. Essentially making a play for this area, saying, well, what are you going to do? Because this is part of your region, right? You've declared this as Russian land, but guess what? It's still ours, and we're still going to keep fighting for it. Also, though, in this article, it does cover a couple things that I definitely wanted to talk about. It does kind of show that, look, Russia's not playing around. They did a missile strike on civilians that were heading from Russia, to this area, I believe. And they blew up a whole convoy. Just hit it. And which is really sad. Let's see, I believe 24 civilians were killed in the attack. They were trying to flee the Kupiansk district. And 13 children, and a pregnant woman were among the dead. So, I mean, clearly they're showing, hey, we aren't taking that as okay. It's the whole, deserters will be shot mantra. Also, I've heard, just more coverage in terms of people, fleeing, how the borders look. Super, super hardcore, scary situation. Once again, you're hearing people waiting 20 plus hours in a driving line queue, trying to cross the border. People saying fuck it and walking across. People, being mocked by soldiers saying oh, you guys are fleeing. That's so fucked up. You guys are terrible. Da, 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 da. So, I mean, these are the kind of things I guess you can expect in these kind of situations where you have people leaving and fleeing. But, yeah, I mean, essentially these people were trying to flee the area that is saying, hey, well, we're not Russian. Nah. And they're saying, nah, you're going to get blown up if you leave. So, I mean, that's crazy. Also, this is in the article, a little bit of a tangent, but these kind of situations, the whole situation of the referendum has led to NATO, quote unquote, fast tracking Ukraine into the NATO alliance. So we'll see how that goes. What else did I want to hit? Let's see. After Friday's land grab, Russia now claims sovereignty over 15% of Ukraine. So, I mean, we'll see if they can hold it. We'll see if they mean it. And then also, in Washington, President Joe Biden signed a bill Friday that provides another infusion, more than $12.3 billion in military and economic aid linked to the war in Ukraine. Now, this is once again a little bit of a tangent because not only was this was honestly the minor part if you're looking at it from the American perspective, because if we didn't get this bill passed, it was going to lead to potentially government stoppages, at least temporary or partial. Yeah, partial is the word I'm looking for, partial. So partial government shutdown. So that was good. I wanted to get that in there in case I don't get it in the mix for the rest of the week episodes, whatever. Um, and more or less that concludes the main Ukraine-Russia bit. So thank you so much for sticking with us. Sadly, we have a somber end here before I take the little break. This one's going to go out to Coolio. Rest in power. He died at the age of 59. Got this from Yahoo News. So we'll just, do that there and, do a little smoke for him. Then I guess I'll do a little talk. I gotta do my little drinky drink too, of course, I wish I was brazy enough to spill alcohol on my carpet, but I'm not. But obviously, most people remember him from Gangsta's Paradise. That's for me. That was the main one. Also, Fantastic Voyage. I forget roller skating and doing fun shit to that song. And yeah, that's definitely a banger. Also, actor, was it once again BBC reminding me that he was in the Surreal Life? Yes, he was giving us reality. So, he's gonna be missed. Sadly, he died, I believe, of cardiac arrest. He was out with a friend and he went to the bathroom and he just never came back. Super sad. But yeah. It's always sad to see anyone go, especially when it's music. There's always a tie there. It really connects us, and when that tie is severed in a way, at least in the mortal way, it sucks. It's a bummer. So our thoughts and prayers with the family, of course, and definitely play Gangsta's Paradise today. If you're partaking, roll a fucking hog's leg and do that for Coolio. I know I'm gonna try to do that. So thank you for sticking around for the episode. I know it's necessarily not the funnest talking about war and all that kind of shit. But thank you for listening to me. Oh, you're so kind. If you would be further kind, I would love if you would become a newsie. And what's a newsie, you ask? A newsie is someone who has given, at least $5 donation, and essentially with that donation, you're helping out the podcast. You're making it better, hopefully. I mean, worst case scenario, you're putting food in my mouth. That's definitely happened. I will attest to that. I'm a starving artist out here, okay? Making this content ain't easy, all right? But I do enjoy it. I do it for the love. I mean, obviously, I'm more or less doing it for free. Even if the people who didn't donate, I would still do it because I enjoy knowing that there's at least some people out there who are listening. I think that shit is crazy. That shit is so cool. I love that. And it pushes me to try to make this better. It pushes me to try to do it better. I don't know. But yeah, I'll get to my shout outs. Stephanie Renee, thank you. You're the queen. You're the alpha. You're the best. I love ya. And then Denver McIntosh. I think I'm getting this name right this time. I'm snapping for the kids. Thank you, King. Thank you for putting 5 on it for your boy. You're rad. You're awesome. And also to the other listeners, thank you. Thank you so much. Also, I didn't tell you other stuff you get. Obviously, you get the shout out. Awesome. That happens once a month or whatever. You also get Discord access. If you want to use that, that's cool. Discord's fun. Trying to build a community there. As well as a shout out, you can always, if you want to throw a news article at me, I will talk about said news article. I love sharing, as long as it's nothing weird or crazy. Actually, even if it is weird or crazy, I kind of might want it. I'm emojiing at it. That's on the table. Also, there's an extended part of the package if you want to debate me. I mean, granted, I don't think I'm going to do that on the podcast, but that's a thing. If you want, you get a 5-minute debate session. If you want, you can get it out. You can work it out. I know sometimes people on the internet, they need to do that. The haters. That's more for the haters. But hey, haters with money, come at me. But yeah, I mean, that's more or less the package. You can take it. You can leave it. That's okay. Once again, I'm just glad you stayed. Let's see. Free ways to contact me. IsaiahNews1 at gmail.com. That's a free way. You can do that. And I'm like on all the socials. You can even find me on Tumblr. Tumblr. I still have a Tumblr account, okay? Not the podcast, but like you can find me. And the podcast is on Twitter. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. So there's ways to contact. You can get involved. You can interact with me. You can get parasocial with moi. But yeah, I hope you have a good one. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.